"You'll never guess what kind of skin this is," the king announced. "Whoever guesses right will marry my beloved daughter, the princess." A man stepped forward and carefully examined the huge piece of leather. He pulled off a hair and said, "It's pigskin." The king replied, "Wrong." Another man, looking much more professional, took out a magnifying glass and studied the hide closely. But the princess quickly turned to her father with a worried look. The king simply shook his head. This one wasn't right either. More and more people came to take a look, but none could figure out what kind of animal the skin came from. Then, a wild man appeared, ugly, dirty, and dressed in rags. He had clearly spent years surviving in the wilderness. He stepped up, sniffed the hide once, and said, "It's a flea." The king was stunned. Someone had actually guessed it. But how could a flea have skin this large? Here was the story. One day, while the princess was playing music in the grand hall, a flea suddenly jumped into the king's hand. No matter how hard he tried to swat it, it kept coming back, almost like it was playing a game with him. The king became fascinated. Back in his bedroom, he began studying the flea. He fed it his own blood and even built it a luxurious little house. Obsessed, the king started ignoring royal duties. Every day, he made toys for the flea and spent hours playing with it. Soon, the flea grew to the size of a dog. It could eat an entire plate of steak in no time. But before long, the flea died, too fat to live. Devastated, the king skinned the flea and kept the hide as a memorial. Later, when the princess said she wanted a tall, handsome man as her husband, the king came up with an idea. He brought out the flea skin and said, "Whoever can tell me what animal this came from will marry the princess." News spread quickly, and many young men came to try their luck, but none could figure it out. Then, the wild man returned. With one casual sniff, he guessed it again. A flea. The king didn't like the idea of giving his daughter to such a filthy man, but for the sake of his honor and his word, he allowed it. The wild man took the princess back to his luxurious home. It was a dirty cave scattered with animal bones. He carefully cleared a corner for her to sleep in. There were no clean clothes, and she had to eat raw meat with him. The princess cried every day. Then, one day, while the wild man went out hunting, the princess looked across a massive canyon and saw an old woman. She called out for help, but the canyon was far too wide. The old woman could only shake her head and whisper, "I'm sorry, I can't reach you." So what will happen to the princess now?